I'm talking about changes that benefit the economy and shrink government, right? Which DOGE absolutely does with the intent to shrink government under the Trump administration. I'm talking about, oh, yeah, he's made trade deals and he's sitting here put tariffs that are going to.
I feel like if anything else, I know Gibbs is a lost cause, okay? But like this guy is just a total MAGA fucking dumbass, okay? I'm fully on Counterpoints and North Side in this debate, okay? Because again, they're arguing anti-Trump, right? But the thing is that in my opinion, in my humble opinion, dude, is Trump buying company shares and like enforcing tariffs not like how is that like lessening? How is that lessening like federal government power? How is any of this lessening government power if he is like sending in troops to like random fucking cities off of Fox and Friends? Okay, like how, like if anything, I feel like it's the definition. I feel like it's the definition of like stupid fucking shit, right? I don't know. It's just I don't know, dude. It's so stupid. Like like everything Trump is doing is like strengthening the government, right? Everything Trump is doing is strengthening the government. I don't know.
Benefit us here and cause local prices maybe to go up initially and then drop after we build the supply chains locally, just like the big grocer HEB, the number one grocer in America, the Walmart model. Now, if Connor actually understood economics, he would understand how this works. But since the man's biggest economic thing is working for Uncle Sam, he doesn't fucking know shit.
Okay, now that the orangutan's done, Luke. So
I know I mocked you.
PEPFAR costs $6.5 billion per year. It was passed by bipartisan legislation by George W. Bush in 2003. PEPFAR provides retroviral medication.
Well, the tariffs destroy our global soft power, yeah, which is a bad thing, right? Like, by the way, if you're actually a neoconservative, you'd be trying to strengthen soft power as much as possible. You want to, I think neoconservatives like typically believe in like strengthening global influence, trying to put as much forward in terms of global influence as much as possible. Like, I really do think so. Like, this is what they believe. Like, they believe in strengthening that part. Yeah. They believe in strengthening, like fucking, strengthening that. Fuck me. Okay, sorry. late. Like fucking, we're getting late.
For HIV and AIDS.
Kill me.
That way, women in Africa who have HIV will not pass on HIV to their kids, and then also people who already have HIV won't die from the disease. This is credited with saving 25 million human lives over the past 20 years. That was part of the 0.16% budgetary cuts. So it is predicted in the next 5 years to kill 3 million people.
Hold on. How does 25 million people die, which is doubtful at best, have anything to do with fiscal conservatism? I would say arguing that's liberalism at best and progressivism at worst when we're going to sit here and say, hey, let's use American tax dollars to pay for fucking Zambians.
Well, we could go to neoconservatism next since you don't understand fiscal conservatism.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, so, I mean, neoconservatism is trying to expand, like, global hegemony, right? For the record, I think I did actually watch, like, an hour of this. So, for the record, this isn't my first time reacting to this. So, like, but I don't actually remember too much. Maybe, you know, some of it will come back to me. But I think they go over a lot of USAID examples as well, and I think that some good points are being brought up.
But I would like you clearly don't, because you're equating millions of people dying to economics.
No. I didn't. You did, but that's because you're not fully human. Like I have 6% Neanderthal DNA. I'm pretty sure you're cooked.
Wait, what the fuck? I only have one mech? Oh, and then I have a bunch of carriers. Okay, I see how it is. Okay, so this beginning loadout is like one fucking heavy mech, and 50 trillion vehicles.
In like 10-20%.
Do you understand at all, like, spending money now to prevent, like, shit from happening in the future? Like, do you understand that concept?
I absolutely do. I mean, I'm definitely familiar with the idea of hold on. I'm familiar with the idea of the pay now and the pay later. Well, I explain how fiscal conservatism is needing supply chains to be established here.
Shut the fuck up while I'm talking.
You asked me a question. Hold on. You asked me a question. I got to answer the question you just asked me. If you're going to ask me if I understand how this works, and I explain how fiscal conservatism is a policy that's going to lead supply chains here, the paying now or the paying later, which
You answered my question, now you're going on this whole fucking tangent. Oh my
hold on,
gosh.
because they're related. I know it's hard for you to follow the point. If I'm going to build a supply chain here, and which is what Trump's doing with the tariffs, that is fiscal conservatism, not whatever bullshit you're saying. Well, oh, we raise taxes, oh, and then do whatever. Come on, give me a break.
No. You know what tariffs are? Tariffs aren't fiscal conservatism. Tariffs are protectionism. It's isolationism. That's what it is.
Oh, it's isolationism.
It's protectionism. It's social. That's what I'll call it, socialist even. It's
Okay, I have hope that Luke is a member of the human species. I would like to hear him address what I said.
Luke.
So we cut 0.16% of the budget. You said it was a step in the right direction. I said that is projected to kill 3 million people over the next 5 years. What's your response?
Is it what Zoo is?
Well, we obviously know that there are other problems going on in the world, right? A lot of problems that could save lives, right? And we could address almost every single country in that matter. Right? The question is, how far are you willing to go with spending in that?
What?
You know, do we take every country and try to solve all of their problems for them?
Dude, the description for this vehicle in this game is, this was at one point a literal fire truck. What the fuck? Bro, I love this game, dude. I love this mod, okay? This mod brings in a bunch of team loadouts for you to begin at the beginning. Because it's rogue tech. Like, every single run is like a roguelike in a way, right? Yeah.
No, but if you wanted to move to neoconservatism, so Gibbs said, okay, well, spending money on foreign soft power is not fiscal conservatism. I agree. It's not fiscal conservative to spend money on foreign countries when you're already running on debt. However, neoconservatism, philosophically, Reagan was probably the biggest neoconservative in American history, next to Teddy Roosevelt, okay? He believed that American soft power and hard power should be projected overseas in order to defend the free world. And I would argue that while PEPFAR and USAID are not fiscally conservative because we're spending $10 billion overseas, I would argue that they are bastions of neoconservatism, which is spreading the influence of the free world via soft power and military power. So if you guys want to move to how Trump is not a neoconservative, I'd be happy to discuss.
Now, this is some slop. Yeah, this is the definition of slop. Okay, food slop.
Neocons don't even agree with you. Like, this is what's insane. You're arguing first.
Do you believe in neoconservatism, Admiral Gibbs?
He admitted just now that those programs that he was asking Luke about, whether we're not fiscally conservative, hashtag in thread, rhino, right? Like, not even rhino, like I said, duplicitous lying snake oil salesman. That's what we got right here. Thank you.
Admiral Gibbs, are you a neocon? Just out of curiosity.
I would argue that I used to be, maybe.
No, so you aren't. Okay. Do you think that MAGA is a represents neoconservatism?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so then we don't even have to address that. You agree with us that MAGA is not neoconservative at all.
Okay, before we move on, I would like to ask Luke though, because he used Reagan as the pinnacle of conservatism.
Oh, dude. Okay. Connor is, I feel like, okay, so the bad faith interpretation of this is Connor is dragging in the 15-year-old because he knows that 15-year-olds cannot debate well, so that's why he's dragging him in. The good faith interpretation of this is Connor is trying to drag in the 15-year-old because he wants a 15-year-old to participate in a big boy debate panel in order to get his feet wet, right? Pause, okay? Yeah.
Reagan was an avid anti-communist hawk. He ran deficits and spent shitloads of cash on the military and spent shitloads of cash on foreign.
So in a way, you know, counterpoints like father instincts are kicking in. Okay, let's just put it like that, which is cute. That is cute if true. Okay, but if it's bad faith, I think counterpoints is trying to instigate Luke against Admiral Gibbs. Yeah.
Interventions in order to burn out the Soviet Union. So do you think that Reagan in this regard is not conservative, I suppose, would be one question. And I guess the follow-up question is, do you think that Trump is following in Reagan's footsteps in that he's advocating for American power on the world stage? Because I would actually argue that MAGA is largely a movement that's trying to be increasingly isolationist.
Well, my first question to you be, why do you think that we want to be isolationists in a sense of world power?
I would say that if I was to steel man the MAGA movement, they're sick of spending trillions of dollars overseas without a discernible result. They're sick of the blowback from foreign wars. They're sick of being involved in the Middle East and North Africa.
Good faith interpreting that the 15-year-old is less retarded and disingenuous than Gibbs. Yeah, sure. Because they have a more, like, you can argue they have a more pure view of the world and they're less likely to be evil, right? Like, evil people grift on purpose and lie on purpose, right? Like, I really doubt that a 15-year-old would be incredibly disingenuous, right? It just means because, like, when you're 15, when you're 20, like, around, like, the teenager years, or even after the teenager years, like, early 20s, typically you're, like, very fired up about politics. Typically, you're, like, truly believe, you're like a true believer, right? When you're younger, you're like a true believer. Rather than, oh yeah, guessing whether or not you're a true believer or not, right? If that makes sense.
They're sick of Europe sleeping under the protective blanket that we provide them, and they're sick of Asian countries sleeping under the security blanket that we provide them. So they want to withdraw from the world stage.
Well, as we saw, the MAGA movement was, when the Iran war first broke out, was heavily supportive of Donald Trump's decision. People like Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul, were heavily supportive of it. He even said himself, the Iranians gave Trump no choice but to come to the table, right? And the MAGA movement, say what you want, we're right there behind him, right? So, I think the idea that Americans want to be removed from the world stage is, I wouldn't say is entirely true. Also, Trump was the first one to meet with Putin in a while. So it was the first one to meet with Putin since the Russia-Ukraine war broke out. So we're obviously trying to get our feet in the game here.
Okay, my counter argument to this, because this is something that I'm actually pretty passionate about, is that Donald Trump, in his first few months in power, brought Zelensky to the White House, embarrassed him on purpose, cut off intel sharing, cut off munitions, cut off the ability for them even to sell weapons to Ukraine. And as a result, thousands, if not tens of thousands of Ukrainians died. So why? And then you brought up Israel.
Tens of thousands,
what I would say
really?
is that Trump has taken extreme amounts of heat.
Wait, okay, listen, I'm not doubting Connor or anything like that. He probably follows the exact numbers much more closely because he's like a numbers autism whatever nerd. But how do you figure out how many fucking Ukrainians die as a result of them cutting off funds to weaponry and shit like that? It's just, or reducing the amount of funds that you give to Ukraine. How do you even estimate that? I would probably say thousands, hundreds maybe, hundreds to thousands, but tens of thousands is a lot. That's a lot of soldiers, dude. I'm not. That's like an entire fucking multiple battalions worth of soldiers
from the MAGA base, because they say, oh, he's MAGA, he's make Israel great again, he's a simp for Israel. So as an example, so yeah, I agree with you, he was interventionist in reference to Israel and Iran, but I think that Ukraine is the perfect example of him withdrawing from the world stage.
Well, the reason why I use this example is because you said that Trump wanted to move away from the world stage. Whether you agree with those decisions or not, you have to agree that it's a point to, to be a part of that world stage and to try to take action, whether you agree with the actions.
But I would argue that attempting to withdraw from the world stage and only coming out when an important ally gets attacked would be a movement towards isolationism.
Oh, no. Wait, no. I know how you can figure it out. So after the cut began, you can measure how much higher the deaths are. You can measure how much higher the death rate is. And then that's how you measure the thing. Okay, yeah, no, I know how to measure it now. Okay, yeah. That's probably what he did.
Therefore, it would be an example of Trump and the MAGA movement not being a neoconservative movement.
In which sense did he pull out?
I would say that screwing over Ukraine the way that he did. And then also I would say that the Iranian policy was fairly limited, where effectively it was just strikes against the nuclear sites, and then he backed away.
Yeah, this is a dumbass foreign policy take. Hold on, I gotta say something. First of all, just because you're sitting, yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, brother. But when I'm sitting here hearing what he's saying, it's just rampant idiocracy. Okay, first of all, Ukraine is, for all intents and purposes, not even a first-tier client state. They're a second-tier client state. And when you have an uppity son of a bitch like Zelensky, who's arguably not even actually elected the proper way, but we don't have to dive into that. And because I'm actually...
Okay, we should dive into that, because you said something that needs to be substantiated. You just said some fucking bullshit right there, okay? And you know it's bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. Okay, fuck you, right? Just for the record, okay? I think it's silly. I think it's just completely silly that he said this. What the fuck? Oh, Zelensky is not the proper president? Okay. Yeah.
Pro-funding the Ukraine war, but we're sitting here having an uppity bitch like Zelensky come in here and not even wear a suit to the White House because he wants.
By the way, okay, I'm pretty sure Zelensky is the rightful ruler of Ukraine, okay? My rightful king, okay? My king of kings, all right? It was just that the previous fucking Ukrainian president was actually a Russian puppet, right? The Euromaidan, right? And he was driven out of the country because he fled back to his country, his real country of Russia, I guess. I don't fucking know. Because he was so afraid of the protesters. When in actuality, what he was doing was he was ordering snipers to kill protesters when they were demanding him to be removed from office. I can't believe people are still on this fucking bullshit point. But okay, here we are, I guess, whatever. Yeah, very cool.
Send a message or some bullshit. And then he's going to sit here and ask Daddy Trump and Daddy America for some money. And yeah, guess what? You're going to play by our rules. And so when he got uppity, he got slapped like the little bitch ass he was. And now, guess what? We just opened up even more funding and even more weapons just within the last week, like the Tomahawk deal, more than Biden ever gave. We also negotiated a mineral rights deal.
By the way, it's also not like a it's not an accident that God, what is his name? Lactoid TV is also like saying the same points. Like Lactoid TV also says the same exact fucking like retarded fucking points, because he's like these people are openly like, if you actually do any research, like any kind of research whatsoever into like the fucking like logistics of like this fucking bullshit, right? You'll know that what is actually happening is like nowhere as close to what they're describing, right? But yeah.
With Ukraine. These are all expanding American power under the neocon principle. We can look at Iran. You know what's expanding American power? When we go in there and bomb the fuck out of them with using our old tech that's getting replaced by the B-23 Raider, B-21 Raider, and we have the B-2 bomb. We're getting old tech going in there and dropping bombs on them. And guess what? They have no idea what's happening. And then we have Israel handing all our weapons for us. Why would we deploy U.S. troops to the Middle East where it's just a quagmire?
So
Instead, we can just let Israel whoop their ass for us effectively. And then finally today, it looks like Hamas has capitulated. So it looks like once again, Trump dubbed, crying baby back bitches here, zero.
So hold on, is MAGA neoconservative or not?
Yeah,
I mean, in some respects they can be. It's all once again situational. It doesn't matter whether or not it's actual traditional exact neoconservatism. Whenever we are more to the right.
No. Neoconservative is expanding, trying to maximize soft power. As far as I'm concerned, Trump is not maximizing soft power, and he is not maximizing hard power either. Okay, like he's not trying to like become richer in order to like expand aggressive influence of the United States armies abroad. Okay, instead, like all of his policies are extremely isolationist. Right? The only reason why he likes Netanyahu is probably because they fucking glaze him or some shit, right? Or anything like that. But like, look at any other country. It's like, oh yeah, we don't want to like we don't want to help them with aid. We don't want to help them with anything, right? It's extremely isolationist in like all regards, right? Yeah.
What you're proposing for socialism. That's not that's not conservative at all.
No. If I was a socialist,
I don't know your positions, so I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I know his positions, and they're socialist, borderline national socialist.
No, Admiral Gibbs, I can tell you that you're the socialist here for supporting Donald Trump, especially with when it comes to Trump literally taking over parts of U.S. companies. You think Trump buying like 10% of Intel stock? You think that's?
Hey, this is a Foodshops voice chat talking point, guys. North is using like what we discussed in voice chat. That's cute. That's cute. He's like using a talking point that was discussed in my fucking voice chat in the server. This is so cute. He's using it on the big boy stage. That's adorable. Oh my god, we actually can influence this guy.
Not socialist at all.
Do I think that Trump? Sure, I would argue that it is somewhat socialist.
It's somewhat socialist?
Yeah. Guess what? Every big government is somewhat socialist. I mean, I don't want to turn into Fabian Liberty. And
big government. Yeah. Hold on, I thought Trump was shrinking the government. What's this whole big government thing?
Hold on. It is shrinking. However, when you're talking about economic gain and Trump's an economic guru, you know what? Guess what? If they decide they're going to invest in stock and stimulate the American economy, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a libertarian. Yeah, it is a little bit socialist. There are some socialist aspects to the United States government in general. So if they're going to buy stocks in order to increase our economic benefit, I'm all for that if they can actually see it work. How either you think Intel is going to go down in cost as we sit here and have supply chains built and chips built here? No, absolutely not. Instead, what we're probably going to
no. What my concern about is I'm a promoter of free market economics, and I don't like it when the government is interfering with our free capitalist market, because that's what they're doing right now. They're creating a conflict of interest, and you can argue that they're maybe like artificially raising the prices of the stock, but that doesn't actually do anything for like the economy at all. It just makes it look like better superficially. Like if you pump like $15 trillion into the economy, right? That doesn't mean the economy is going to be doing better. Like maybe on paper you could say it's doing better. But
let me ask you a question. All right, so and I've talked about this a lot. This is the big reason I got into like the debate world is because how it was affecting me locally, right? When I'm sitting here looking at certain industries, and I'm going to speak to ranching once again, and I can look at subsidies, right? Going into certain industries where they actually absolutely crush one industry at the benefit of the other, and then eventually crash, right? Like corn subsidies, like we have some of these grain subsidies, right? All these things, they end up leading to a crash. Sure, I agree in socialist aspect that would be bad. I don't like that. In fact, I'm a rancher. I don't want beef subsidies, even though we'll probably get something. I don't want that, right? Because I think that's bad. Hold on. When I look at these things, yeah, there are some aspects to go. However, if I'm looking for economic gain and I'm an Intel stockholder and I'm looking for future investments, I think the U.S. government, when they're pushing stuff like tariffs, which are going to, and then have trade deals with Rwanda for rare earth minerals, I think, yeah, it behooves us in situational circumstances to maybe play the game. I'm not a full-on libertarian, and unless you're a full-on libertarian, you also believe in some sort of government control over certain areas. And this is one of those times
where we're going to have benefits
to them doing it. Oh, so then you're a libertarian or what?
I believe in free market economics. I think the less you have a more prosperous capitalist economy, the less interference the government puts into it. Like, is that not?
Sure.
So we can agree with that, right?
Would you agree that, like, of the two choices that we've had, like, I'm not going to argue about the primary. Maybe you voted for somebody else in the Republican primary. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know your history. You know, if we're going to sit here and argue that when it comes to election time, right, and it's Kamala Harris, the one who wants to use socialist policy spending, like spending American taxpayer dollars on programs like dance classes for Haitian male prostitutes in Haiti, or have, I don't know. This is a real one. This is one she actually advocated for.
That can't be a real story, right? I fucking hate, like, I fucking hate, like, debunking, like, shit like this, because they can come up with, like, 50 trillion lies at the same time. Like, they can come up with, like, 50 trillion billion lies, and then they just, like, and then you take forever to debunk one of them. It's like, oh yeah, Haitian, whatever. They literally throw this out, like, shamelessly. Like they do it so shamelessly, and then they move on to the next point the moment you are finished debunking it. It's so tiring. Like, this is why it's not even worth the time to like address these points. Like, who the fuck cares about dance classes, right? Because the thing is that we do have a number at the end of the day, because what you're advocating for is an adjustment to USAID, right? You want the funds to allocate elsewhere. You want to make sure that the funds allocate to somewhere, maybe that, because that's an argument. So then you can allocate USAID to better parts, right? And USAID is not perfect, right? Obviously. So obviously there's like room to improve. But you're trying to make an argument, you're using it as an argument against USAID overall. That's obviously silly, right? Because USAID is important for United States soft power. It just is. So yeah.
To the ACLU, spending taxpayer dollars on, I know, it's hilarious, it's crazy socialist, taxpayer dollars on
Wait, hold on. Okay, wait, North, you better be real laughing, okay? I fucking hate fake laughing, okay? Are you real laughing or are you fake laughing? Are you real laughing or are you fake laughing? Answer me, North, answer!
Please, yeah, this is a real thing. You can look it up.
Haitian male prostitutes
this is a real thing.
Transgender surgery.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. That was illegal aliens. Illegal aliens get transgender surgery. Okay, that was actually policy she advocated in ACLU. You can look that up. Now, Trump was lying when he said that. And then secondly, right now, the government shut down by the party you're arguing against, the never-Trumpers, the Dems. They're the ones who are actually advocating to shut the U.S. government down. Find out for the soft power that Connor wants. One of those things being $3.6 million to Haiti for baking classes and dance classes for Haitian male prostitutes. This is a real policy happening right now. I guess that's not socialist.
Okay, seriously. You need to adjust your mic settings. I think your mic is fine, but you need to adjust your mic settings. On God, for real, okay? You're using a Blue Yeti, right? Oh my God, for the love of God. Like, your laugh would sound cuter as well, like, and more tolerable if you just fucking adjusted your setting. Fuck me, dude. Holy shit.
Look,
okay.
Admiral Gibbs, when he entered this conversation, he was trying to obfuscate.
That was not a real laugh. That was not. Oh my God.
He was basically saying that me and Connor were going to be telling lies, bending the truth. But in reality, when you look at what Admiral Gibbs is saying, it's so fucking batshit insane, and he's lying through his teeth. Like, I would love for people to just like recognize that everything that's coming out of his mouth is just untrue. It's completely ridiculous.
Not true. I literally today.
It's on purpose, Giga Chad. Notice how he's dominating the panel. No, I fully agree. No, he doesn't need that to dominate the panel. He's doing fine, okay? Like, he has all the facts on hand. He's like citing stuff and he's making good arguments. It's fine. He doesn't need that.
Senator Kennedy came out and was just talking about it. I could point to multiple senators today talking about it. We could talk about it. It's literally in the funding bill that the Dems put forth saying, hey, if we want this to be passed, if we want the government not to be shut down, you have to re-implement these things. So no, I'm not lying. Maybe just open up a book or maybe turn on the news.
Open up a book. Yeah, obviously.
Right, and
That's where I'll find the transgender Haitians getting their.
I mean, nobody's saying about
I want to see if we
transgender
can. I want to see if we can pull Luke. I
Haitians.
want to see if we can pull Luke back in. Luke, did you have any commentary on anything that's
He said
happened
it
so
to the
far?
ACLU. You're hold on. Real quick, we go North. Are you disagreeing that Kamala to the ACLU said this?
I haven't heard of it at all. No.
Okay, well then, once again, don't laugh because it sounds ludicrous. When Trump said that on TV, I was in a debate with a bunch of people. We were all watching it live.
You know what they say?
I laughed just like you did, and I said, "Haha, that's crazy. No way, that's fucking true." Google. Guess what? Fucking
yeah, no, it's not up for me to Google your own claims.
Yeah, I gave you the claim. Right. I mean,
you gave me a claim and you provide evidence. I'm not going to justify your claim.
Hold on. Shut the fuck up, both of you. Shut the fuck up. All right, you guys had your little spat. Luke, did you have any response to anything that North or Connor may have said?
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to what me and Counterpoint were debating about. Whereas Trump doesn't want to be involved in the world main stage. Well, you gave arguments about how the things he did were wrong, which we could talk about all day if you'd like. But how he wants to go away from the world main stage is I wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
Okay. Well, what I would do just to split the difference, because we still, if we're tracking the thread of the conversation, I think I made the argument that there's 5 separate conservatisms that I don't think Trump is. North and I think are in agreement that we've articulated.
Yeah, there's the same Admiral Gibbs that debated Destiny, yes, live.
Why we don't think Donald Trump is a fiscal conservative. I think that's relatively clear. For neoconservatism, I'll split the difference with you, and I will say that, as an example, Trump's talked about abandoning NATO, right? He's talked about withdrawing from NATO. That's unconscionable to me. That's horrific. It's one of the most horrific things that I've ever heard from a geopolitical perspective. However, Trump likes playing 5D chess and using leverage and being hyperbolic about stuff to get what he wants. And through that rhetoric in Trump 1.0, he actually got the Europeans to increase their funding for NATO. So if you want to split the difference, and also MAGA typically uses neoconservative as a slur. So if you guys want to say that Trump is an appropriate level of American interventionist on the world stage, he's just not as interventionist as neoconservatives want him to be. I could give him a 0.5 in the neoconservative category if we wanted to split the difference.
Well, talking from a very objective view of just being involved in the world stage better than previous leaders, as you might say. Reagan, obviously, during the time of the Cold War, Bush during the time of the Iraq War, obviously played a much bigger role than he is playing right now. But I think from a standpoint of him being the most involved through a foreign conflict view and through an economical view, he is very involved in the world main stage, which is what we've seen from previous conservatives.
But just as an example, though, so the reason why, in my opinion, this is antithetical to neoconservatism, though. So this is where I was willing to break bread and just say maybe he's a little bit more interventionist than my criticisms allow for. However, a neoconservative, somebody who believes that republicanism and democracy should spread throughout the world through free trade, cultural influence, American soft power, and American hard power, no neoconservative would have cut PEPFAR. No neoconservative would have cut USAID. No neoconservative would have reduced the CIA's role on the main stage. No neoconservative would have started a trade war with allies. That would have never fucking happened. So that's where, for me, I kind of feel like, Gibbs is laughing. You kind of have to decide whether or not neoconservative is a slur. If neoconservative is a slur and an insult, then I don't know why you would just say Trump isn't a neoconservative and that's a good thing. That would be the end of this segment.
And okay, Admiral Gibbs talked about before saying that he doesn't think that MAGA is neoconservative, for one. And for two, what was Trump's foreign policy talking point when he was campaigning? It was no new wars. Would you consider that neoconservative?
Sure. Well, hold on. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that no, that is not neoconservative. However, once again, by the way, I just want to point out, this is to the moderator as well. We've had total bad faith by the part of these two, especially North just now. And I want to point this out. He asked me, he said it's not his job to find a source after I made a claim, even though I made the source, told the source in the claim I made. Now I posted a source for both the other claims I made, and let me just list some other stuff from the bill that the Dems are. These all sound crazy. This is what they were sitting there pushing out. The lawmaker listed out nearly $20 million in foreign and aid funding that he alleged Democrats had their eyes on, including $4.2 million for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex people in Western Balkans and Uganda, $3.6 million for pastry cooking classes and dance focus groups for male prostitutes in Haiti, $6 million for media organizations for the Palestinians, and $3 million for circumcisions and vasectomies in Zimbabwe.
By the way, I just want to let you guys know that this means nothing, okay? You can point out any kind of problem with USAID, but it wouldn't support your point. you're arguing that there could be better allocation. You're arguing that there could be better like distribution of the funds in terms of USAID. You are not arguing for the dissolution of USAID. If you want to argue for the dissolution of USAID, you have to show that a vast majority of its funds are not being appropriated well, right? You have to show that you have to show numbers, not just anecdotes, on the fact that USAID is bad, right? You have to show the numbers, okay? Not the anecdotes, all right? So the thing is that this is bad faith, all right? This is what bad faith is, all right? It's anecdotes specifically of USAID. Even assuming all of this is true, none of it supports Gibbs' point, okay? So yeah, that would be the thing that you would need to point out, yeah.
Now you could argue maybe under the soft power principle that, hey, it could be neoconservative. However, even a neoconservative who wants to cut government spending would absolutely cut funding like things for $3.6 million for pastry cooking classes in Haiti. Secondly, the other thing I said, which was the ACLU thing, I posted the fucking link in there. This is from CNN. If he doesn't like the one about I just posted from Fox News, because CNN is notorious for being extremely far right. They are the ones who admitted that Kamala lied during her presidential election campaign and said she didn't say this after Trump claimed she did do this on the national debate stage. And guess what? I had the source, and she did fucking say that. And here's a cool quote from Kamala. This is our comparison. If I have to pick which side's more conservative, Trump or, hey, the populist righty, who's maybe not a neocon, but he's a populist righty, or the left socialist leader who says Harris, this is an exact quote from Harris, executive authority to ensure transgender and non-binary people rely on the state for medical care, including those in prison and immigration detention, will have access to comprehensive treatment associated with gender transition, including all necessary surgery. Now, I'm not bashing anybody that wants to be trans. I'm not bashing anybody that wants to be any of these things. I don't care. If you want to do that, more power to you. I don't care. However,
by the way, I just want to say, I just want to say, like handing out, like, listen, okay, you know what? If we're handing out condoms out there, you know, that's kind of based. Like, condoms are pretty fucking cheap, aren't they? Like, that sounds like a good use of our taxpayer dollars, unironically. Preventing shit like HIV from spreading. You realize that a lot of people also come to the United States, right? Like, you realize that these same people that you're talking about and making fun of, like, these people come to the United States, right? Why and if it's not to the United States, they go to another country and then they spread HIV around the world. Why the fuck wouldn't you promote condom usage? Hello? Like, are you insane? Do you want another fucking COVID to happen? Like, I'm not even talking about HIV necessarily, right? What about COVID-2? You want another COVID-2 to happen? Like, it's like these feel like to me like actually good things to invest money into, right? Yeah, it's just like these people are like actually psychotic, right? They actually do not see the positive good effects down the road. They don't see the positive effects down the road. They only see what's immediate in front of them. Fuck, there has to be a term for this. Downstream fallacy, downstream blindness fallacy. I don't know. Like, there has to be a good term for it because it's appeared so many times at this point. Downstream fallacy? I don't fucking know.
If you're telling me that it is conservative to fucking go and pay for illegal immigrants to get those surgeries, then you're out of your goddamn mind.
Cringe.
Well, Admiral Gibbs, you're reading from the Fox News article, right?
No, I'm reading from the CNN article now. Thanks,
Okay,
but good try.
Okay. Well, I was just curious. Look, the problem with these articles is they can claim whatever the fuck they want.
No,
Hold on.
North respond.
They can claim whatever the fuck they want, but as long as I'd like to see the actual like bill themselves. So someone saying that's like what's in the bill, like fucking dance classes in Palestine. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about there.
Well, okay, it's not my fault that you don't know this. I provide sources, and you provide
that's not okay. Okay, do you understand the difference between a primary and a secondary source?
Maybe it's your first debate.
Don't speak over each other.
Primary source is Kamala Harris saying this herself. That's a primary source.
You claim that CNN is a source is like a high schooler using a news article for their
her direct words. They quoted her direct words. Are you retarded? No, that is a primary source.
Oh my god.
Or is the person talking about? Is the Kamala saying XYZ and them quoting that? Is that a primary source? Yes or no?
It's a secondary source. Because
no, it is a first source. Oh my god! It's a primary.
Okay, link me Kamala saying this. Link me Kamala saying this.
They're both in the chat.
You put it in the private chat.
I mean, maybe read a book or watch the news because you're sitting here showing it's your first time debating with the big boys. It's cool.
Yeah, this is slop. Yep, this is slop, alright. Dude, don't you guys love slop? I fucking love slop, dude. Slop is like my favorite thing to consume. Okay.
Crazy that you know you're gonna call out me for sources.
I'm so glad that I didn't just dismiss this as boring. I'm so glad that I actually found out that they were yelling at each other. Thank God.
Provided too, and you
Holy
reported
fuck.
bubkiss.
Let's see here now.
Okay. So what do you guys want to do in reference to neocon? Because I think, Luke, my argument would be that Trump is substantively less committed to neoconservatism than a neoconservative.
Nice.
I think Gibbs, despite going on a rant, would probably agree. He would just say that that's a good thing. Because neoconservatives love foreign intervention. They love spending money internationally. They love trans drag shows. They fucking like Colombian street-walking trans prostitutes put...
Gibbs had aura? See, that's your first mistake. You're assuming Gibbs even has aura in the first place.
on an art show for the Colombian embassy. Neoconservatives fucking love that shit. So I'm assuming that Admiral Gibbs would say, that's cringe, that's fucked up, we shouldn't do that.
I would agree that spending money would be on foreign wars and expanding American influence through war would be a neocon position. Sure. Yeah. However, I would argue that yes,
that's bad, right?
No, I would argue that if we're going to argue from a neocon standpoint, because I would say I used to be one, I would argue that the neocon standpoint would be doing effective things when it comes to expanding American votes. Like, direct action against military targets. That would be an effective use of American power. That's going to increase our influence in the world. Holding territory, ensuring free shipping, safe shipping lanes overseas. Yeah, that would be a neocon sense. However, a neocon would not be in favor of ineffective things like 3.6 million going to Haiti or for something like this.
Okay. I mean, I think descriptively, even if we disagree on like whether or not these things are good or bad, I could just accept that. But then this would get into, I would say, well, let's do like let's do the spicy, non-spicy, and then spicy. So social conservatism, okay? I think that social conservatism.
North lost aura when he forgot what word he was thinking of and then just went silent. Oh, I don't even remember that. Okay.
Is promoting, religious values.
You can tell North in person in my Discord server, okay? Discord.gg/Foodshops, okay?
Virtues, family, getting married, having kids, being loyal to your wife. I think Trump is one of the least, he espouses social conservatism. He got conservative justices elected to the Supreme Court. I think that he is the least socially conservative individual who has ever represented the Republican Party, probably in the history of the country.
True alert.
What?
I think that Donald Trump is the least socially conservative human being who has represented the Republican Party in the history of the country.
True.
Worse than John McCain?
Yes, substantively. John McCain was married for 40 years. Donald Trump cheated on every single one of his spouses. Donald Trump is credibly accused of having sex with 14 to 17-year-old girls to the 80s and 90s and being friends with one of the world's most prolific pedophiles in American history. So yeah, John McCain was substantively more social conservative than Donald Trump.
Who founded the Republican Party? I forget. Was it Abraham Lincoln? Oh, it was Abraham Lincoln. Like, this guy took the progressive stance of freeing the slaves. I got to say, and that's a good thing, but if you're going to argue that, hey, he's the most non-social conservative in American history, maybe once again.
The way they talk about it is very sus.
Do you think slavery is socially conservative?
I would argue that at the time. Yeah, if it's established within, it's economic conservative, that's for goddamn sure. If you're going to sit here and say, with tradition, hey, yeah, that's also going to be a conservative standpoint at the time. Like, are you arguing that
this is why I define terms before I talk about them. I say that social conservatism is promoting...
You're defining it dishonestly.
Okay, okay, tell me if this definition is dishonest. Social conservatism is reinforcing religious principles and values, and also reinforcing the virtue and value of family, marriage, and staying loyal to your partner while raising children. That's social conservatism. Was that a dishonest social conservative definition?
Sure. Let's use that definition. Let's just for funsies. I'll play your game. Here's the problem. If we use that definition,
the game?
We use that definition and we compare the two candidates, and then we compare down ballot. Which one represents that more? Maybe the leader might not represent that. Hey, but Vance is absolutely
that's my argument.
Conservative. However, when I sit here and see policies like that were going on the left, none of that is advocating for social conservatism. And your argument is a never Trumper. So you're going to argue against anybody MAGA. And then you're going to say, hey, let's vote for Dems that are going to push more far-left socialist policies and more far-left progressive anti-conservative policies. And then you're going to tell me...
So I'll follow you, Gibbs.
Go ahead.
I'll follow you. Yeah, so quick response, Luke. I promise I'll be brief. Yes, so if my options were Kamala Harris, who I don't like as a person, who I think has not led a socially conservative life, she cheated on her current spouse or her boyfriend or whatever in order to fillet a person in power in order to get a better job. She married into a family. She does not have children of her own. I do not view her as a socially conservative person. However, if I stack Kamala Harris up against Donald Trump, who cheated on every single one of his spouses, including Melania, and who also had sex with underage, sex-traffict women, then I'm going to say that Kamala Harris is a fundamentally better person than Donald Trump.
Williams. What are you talking about? If you're going to talk about social conservative, you can't talk about someone who's a known cheating slut. This is crazy, bro.
You say known cheating
slut. Wouldn't you agree, Gibbs? Do you think being a pedophile is worse, or do you think being a slut is worse?
I don't know. Why don't we ask your bestie for Destiny?
Dude, the Epstein point is weird, just simply because, like, there's just no good, like, I don't know, I mean, you should use it, okay? I still think that you should use it. You should still use the talking points of, like, being, like, I don't know, being against Epstein and pedophilia and shit like that, but I think it's, you know what, no, I think you can argue on this point. I think you can actually argue on this point. Yeah, I think you can actually argue on this point. Yeah, I actually think so. Because the thing is that they were best friends, right? Like, they are best friends. So, like, I think you can actually argue this, like, based off of proximity, right? I don't know. It's just, it is a saucy point, though. I wouldn't go with this one.
But hey, that's neither here nor there.
Go ask him. I'm pretty sure he'll say being a pedophile is worse than being a slut. I'm asking you.
I don't know. There's a lot of
I'm asking you.
He's not going to answer the question. He's not going to answer the question.
Gibbs, I would love an answer. I would love an answer, Gibbs. What's worse, having sex with a 14-year-old sex-trafficked girl or being a cheating slut?
Well, anything
what's worse?
Anything they're convicted for, that's going to be what's worse. Because
I would like you to answer the question.
And the answer is anything they're going to be convicted for, that's going to be what's worse. And I've not heard Donald Trump.
No. The question is,
if he was actually doing this, why in the last 4 years when the Dems had the
having sex
they do nothing
with a
at all with them?
14-year-old girl worse than cheating?
All we want getting released, but guess what?
Dude, there is no, listen, I mean, there's allegations technically, right? But there's, fuck.
Released more of that information in the last 6 months than we've been released in the last 4 years. If the Dems actually had the claims you're making, they would have released them. All you got is baby back bullshit. Go ahead, Luke.
Gibbs, I would like an answer to my question from a descriptive standpoint. Is being a cheating slut worse than having sex with a sex-trafficked 14-year-old girl, yes or no?
And then after Gibbs'
in a pure hypothetical, it would be. However, in a real-world scenario, where we have evidence of one,
I'll take it a hypothetical. That's enough.
We don't have evidence of the other. So, you know,
we do. We have firsthand testimony from one of the sex trafficked girls. We also have a 2003 letter from the Jeffrey Epstein estate where Donald Trump writes the most prolific pedophile in American history, a love letter talking about how they both have a secret.
Wow.
So yeah,
Connor, you and I have a secret.
What's that?
That you're gay. I mean, look, see how easy it is? I can just make up anything when I say we have a secret. Nobody knows that means nothing. That means nothing. That means nothing. You have no evidence.
Here. You, the real conservative, are saying that actually it's conservative to sweep for the president of the United States having sex with 14-year-old girls. That's conservatism now.
Nobody's sweeping.
You're sweeping. That there's evidence. I am presenting you evidence. I'm presenting you evidence that Donald Trump had sex with underage girls in the 80s, 90s, and 1000s, and you are denying it. That is presenting
no evidence that's been put forward in the court of law.
There is
do you think a court of law?
Everyone shut the fuck up. Everyone shut up. I will mute everyone. Shut the fuck up. First and foremost, we're going to kick it over to Luke here in a second. Second of all, everyone in chat, make sure to like and sub, please. And then third of all, Connor, you're gay. When I came on to you, you told me that you were into dudes, dude. What the fuck?
Hey, try again now.
Corbin, you're a very handsome man. I'm just actually not into dudes.
Damn. All right, Luke.
See how easy to lie about this kind of stuff? Crazy.
Connor, you're gay?
You're sweeping for a pedophile. Awesome.
I mean,
we're not getting anywhere with the pedophile. Teenage. Okay,
before Luke goes, can I ask Admiral Gibbs something?
Sure.
No, we're going to kick it to North.
Okay, never mind.
Oh, okay. Admiral Gibbs.
Bro, I love it when there's fighting like this. Like, fighting like this is always so fun, dude. This is why I try to instigate as much drama in my own community as much as possible, okay? So then I know, okay? So I know secretly. Oh my god, this is instigating is always awesome. Okay, you gotta instigate. You gotta instigate as much as possible. Okay, this is why instigating is always a good idea. All right.
You say that in order for someone to be considered a pedophile, they have to be convicted in a court of law, right?
Yeah, I'm a conservative. I believe in innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
So why did you call Destiny a pedophile?
I didn't. I'm saying by the same metric.
No, you implied he was a pedophile.
No. Yeah, exactly. And I apply this. I don't actually. I'm actually
True?
going to sit here right now and tell you to your face that I will grant Destiny that he's
Wait,
not
did he?
one
Did
until
he
he's
say
convicted
that?
in the court of law. Because I.
Oh, okay. So you're just walking it back now. Oh. So I guess he did say it. Now he's walking it back.
As a
Nice.
conservative, I believe in conservative
Wow.
values, like innocent until proven guilty.
Wow.
Trump's case, the one that Connor's referencing, got thrown out.
Wait,
for lack of that.
how do you feel about drone striking drug lords in
Hold
Caribbean?
on, before we
got thrown out.
pivot
And so
again,
when you're asking
we're
me
gonna let
this
Gibbs
question,
respond.
was, when you're asking me this question, was,
Wow.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
willing to sit here and grant Destiny grace because he's not been convicted in the court of law, and I think we should all wait until he's convicted in the court of law before making accusations. However, we're going to be this dishonest.
Okay.
Hold on. If we're gonna
You
do this,
literally
hold on,
implied this, though.
hold on,
This is what you're implying.
hold on. Let me just finish my thought here. The reason why I'm doing that is because what Connor's doing is dishonest. The case he's referencing got thrown out. This letter that he's saying it's a secret. We have a big secret. I just made up something to claim we have a secret. See how easy that was? It can mean anything. The secret. You and I can have a secret.
Do you deny it? Okay,
Who knows?
Okay,
Hold on.
North and Gibbs, we're kicking it to Luke now. Before,
Sure, but my point is,
I'm going to mute you.
proven guilty is a conservative value.
All right, Luke.
Yeah, so obviously to counter, we could obviously talk all day about Trump's social conservative lifestyle or life, but
Oh, it's so cute. Wait, where is North? North is here somewhere.
I would like to ask you a question from a conservative policy standpoint. You would rather vote for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump?
No.
Bro, dude, you know what this feels like? It feels like this is like Pokemon evolutions, right? Like the first evolution is Luke. Luke is like stage 1 like Pokemon. North is stage 2 Pokemon, and then Counterpoints is like stage 3 Pokemon, dude. Oh my god, everything makes sense. Because usually Pokemon look the best in like stage 1 or stage 2, right? Counterpoints looks like old and crap, okay? So like, yeah, this actually makes sense. This is how the evolution works. It's the evolution triangle right here.
As a matter of fact, one of the things that I would actually argue from a social conservative standpoint is that the repeal of Roe versus Wade was probably one of the biggest social conservative victories of the past like half century. So I would actually argue that was like one of the biggest social conservative wins. What I don't like about the repeal of Roe versus Wade is that since there was no legislation that was put in place afterwards, yeah, all the red states got infinitely more conservative on abortion, but the blue states got infinitely more blue. And so as a result, they kind of legalized infanticide where you can have an elective abortion up to 9 months, and that's actually more morally repugnant than Roe versus Wade. Now, when it comes the reason why I bring up Trump rather than social conservative is because I can agree that Christians and Christian nationalists and Christian theocrats probably feel pretty well represented in the Trump administration. That's true. But I think they're selling their souls to the devil because I think Donald Trump is one of the least Christian, most vile, least socially conservative people that we've had in the history of the country.
Spitting.
So yeah, you got more socially conservative policies. That's probably true. Christian nationalists, Christian theocrats, they probably feel super comfortable. Donald Trump himself is a credibly accused pedophile.
Well, hold on. Once again, I posted a link arguing that that's basically the lies. The case got tossed out in 2016, and then he basically just admitted right here. Sorry, Luke, I didn't even cut you off again. He just admitted that, yeah, Trump has put these Christian fundamentalists or whatever he wanted to call them in office, and they are pushing socially conservative policies. So like I said in my opening, he is actually advocating voting down ballot against Christian conservative policies. So
yeah, because I don't like pedophile rapists, Gibbs, and I also don't like selling your soul in order to achieve policy ends, Gibbs.
Alleged. You don't have a problem with other alleged ones, but you have a problem with
so hold on. Gibbs. This is actually something that I'm going to force you to contend with. In the 2003 letter, with a secret that they both share, the outline behind the secret love letter from the 2003 birthday book is a woman with small breasts. In that same birthday book, there is a drawing of another fan of Jeffrey Epstein handing balloons to 10-year-old and 8-year-old girls who are then in the next frame seen massaging him 10 years later. Okay, so it is known, not only that, but Donald Trump, his primary accuser, I could look up her name, but his primary accuser said that girls in flyover states
her name was John
were flown
Cena.
in for beauty pageants and modeling agencies from age 13 to 17. They were brought to Jeffrey Epstein's penthouse where tons of rich and powerful people were partying. Donald Trump was there, and they had sex when she was of the age of 14. That's not socially conservative, friend. There's nothing socially conservative about banging sex-trafficked 14-year-old girls. There's nothing about that.
Well,
He's
once
gonna
again,
ask
it's
for
alleged,
proof.
not convicted, innocent until proven
He's
guilty.
gonna ask for
You
proof.
just gave away
Okay,
the
so
game.
you're sweet.
Oh my
You're ignoring the
God.
evidence in front of your eyes.
Again,
Okay,
hold on. In front of my, well, I'm not the judge. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm not a defense attorney. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not a jury. They didn't convict him. None of this stuff really matters. It's not convicted. Hold on. Well, sure, you can argue that. I mean, once again, by your own metric,
None of
you're
this
speaking
stuff
for the
really
same
matters?
person at the
What
same
the
time.
No, I don't.
But
I acknowledge all of this.
I'm willing to just throw both of those arguments out the window for the sake of civility. However, we can stick to them if we want. I would like to turn back over to Luke, though. I just want to point out that
how is that such a clean hit?
down ballot, Trump has put social conservatives in and pushed these in and pushed policy.
That was
your biggest complaint
bullshit.
is he's personally a piece of shit, and yet he's still going to push conservative policy regardless.
but
So next
here's
year,
another thing.
once again, not a conservative. Sorry.
Here's another thing.
Okay, Connor, before
I'm
you
a
go,
Republican,
Connor, before you go, I've been trying
not
to kick
a
it.
Christian
Connor, before you go,
Democrat.
I've been trying to kick it to Luke for like the last 5 minutes. I'm gonna
All
let
right.
him have the floor.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, yeah, as I said earlier, we could talk about his, social conservative life. Maybe he didn't really live. He didn't really live like the perfect Christian life. He was obviously, there's obviously a lot of things that that has been funneled into the air. But one of the main things that I view when I look at him is his policies, right? Obviously I can't vote for the guy. Not old enough to vote yet. But so that doesn't. So I'm not going to be able to really have a say on that. But what I do want to argue for is some of his conservative policies. I think he still upholds, conservative policies that, have mirrored Reagan, and, have mirrored like the most historical figures in the Republican Party. And he's tried to.
Good Lord, I'm actually advocating. There's literally nothing wrong with advocating the better side in a debate. Like, even if it's someone you hate. By the way, just do not fall into the, just don't fit in, just don't fall into the same, like, pitfalls. Hello, Camila. Camila. All right, Camila. I don't fucking know, dude. But yeah, just by the way, okay? You shouldn't not, like, don't be J-Stoke. Don't be Queeman, okay? Don't be like this. Don't be like the kind of person where because one of your ops is in the right side of the debate, like now you still got to advocate against them. You can't do that. Stop. Just do not. I'm saving you early. Do not do that, okay? Because that only makes you look horrible, okay? So yeah, if someone is obviously wrong or someone is obviously right, you should still be like, I don't know, supportive of them. Yeah. So just be careful, okay? Yeah.
It's best to follow those.
Why did I call you Kamala?
That path.
Okay, Luke, explain to me in what way he's mirrored that. Because I don't see that at all. Explain it. Explain the examples of how Trump has mirrored, like Reaganism.
Oh yeah, well, deregulation, right, and peace through strength could just be two examples that I'll throw out.
Okay. When you refer to deregulation, what do you mean by that exactly?
Well, he's he's giving tax cuts to companies that do that have made in America.
Is that deregulation?
In a sense, yes.
Why is that? Why is tax cuts deregulation?
Because it can help made in America companies thrive.
That's okay. If I were to ask you to define regulation and deregulation, what would you answer?
Rolling back federal regulations on businesses.
Okay, so that's okay. When I ask you what deregulation is, you say, "Well, this is rolling back regulation." That's the circular definition.
What do you think regulation, deregulation?
Well, I'm asking Luke because he's saying that Trump is deregulating.
Well, yeah, but would rolling regulation back on businesses be deregulated? Yes or no?
But he's claiming that deregulation is giving a tax cut. I don't think that's a deregulation.
Absolutely.
Well, in a sense, I would mean limiting the government control on businesses.
Okay, so we talked about before that Trump is increasing government
literally
control
boss them until Trump's economy
through subsidies and through taking direct control of like major corporation stocks, right?
Are we a mixed?
Dude, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of you know what? No. I shouldn't take credit away from North. I wonder if North like came up with this point on his own. Maybe he did come up with this point on his own. Because if North did come up with the the point where it's like, oh yeah, could it be the case that he's actually more socialist or communist more than anything else? I don't know.
So is that not contrary to like what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, was he investing or buying stock in that? Well, you see, like,
the government has bought 10% stock in like Intel, and they control 10% stock in Intel.
Where's Fabian Liberty at? I didn't know you were Fabian Liberty. This is crazy, bro. You're sitting here arguing for libertarian, and then you're trying to like nail down. You asked him, "What's regulation, deregulation?" And his answer was exactly what deregulation is. Rolling back.
I'm saying that Trump is not
like,
going up to the claims of being like deregulatory.
This is so bad. Fake.
Okay. Do you think the FCC censoring Jimmy Kimmel? Do you think that that's deregulatory?
Sure, I'm going to ask, censoring the FCC. Well, since did they actually?
No, not censoring the FCC as a tool to censor.
Yeah. Did they actually do something, or did they threaten to do something?
Okay, so if the
yes or no
government threatens, okay. So if you threaten to do something, is that not like a bad thing?
Well,
like, so if I like say, okay, you can't do this unless or I'll kill you, right? That's not like, well, he just threatened to kill you. It doesn't mean that he actually killed you. Like that doesn't discredit that.
No, Camila. Art of the deal. Don't you understand? It's just art of the deal. All right.
Do your thought exercise real quick. All right. Would you agree that following the example of maybe the man in the Bible that God called a man after his own heart, King David, would you say that exemplifies Christian behaviors?
What? Well, King David is.
Yeah, he's the Old Testament, but that would be. He does exemplify some Christian.
Like so, the Christians, we try to emulate Christ, right?
Right. So, yes. However,
we don't try to emulate King David. That's like you're talking about Judaism.
Well, no, what I'm talking about is with the Christian God, Yahweh, what part of the Trinity, which has a covenant in the Old Testament that is broken and renewed under Jesus with the new covenant.
The new covenant.
Cool. So,
so we don't follow
hold on.
So we don't follow
You're right.
David,
Hold on, that's not true. Well, hold on. A lot of the new covenant does follow the old covenant. There's some differences, like Jesus rose for our sins, us having to pay like lamb tax, basically, right, or sacrifices. Hold on. But here's my argument: when God, you agree that God, the God of the Old Testament. Hold on. I'm talking about sacrifices. One sacrifice. Hold on, let me finish it. I'm going to finish. It's real simple. When I sit here and I argue Yahweh, a part of the Trinity, who says in the Old Testament, David is a man after God's own heart, and Connor complains about how Trump doesn't exemplify Christian or Christian values or any of these things, and David had the husband of Bathsheba killed and then married her. This is a man that ended up repenting. This story teaches us that any man, even someone who does something as evil as killing somebody's husband and then marrying his wife, can be used as a tool for God's good and God's grace and leading the nation. And this is an example here.
So this is oh God. Oh my God. This is such a bastardization of the Bible, dude. Oh my God. Wait, so to be very clear, like what it seems like is happening is that like they're trying to use this as a way to like justify like the potential pedophilia of Trump, right? So even though he's a pedophile, this is like a pragmatism argument. You're making a pragmatism argument, right? Like that's what he's actually doing. He's making a pragmatism argument. Oh my God, give me a break.
So God can rape 14-year-olds because you're misinterpreting. Amazing.
I got two doctors' religion. How many do you have?
Admiral Gibbs, you're misinterpreting the point of that story. The point of that story isn't that, oh, well, David did a bad thing, and it ultimately was a good thing because it helped David like learn a lesson or something like that. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is David did a bad thing, and God punished him for years. That's like.
How about I can use another example? How about
because
Paul?
He did a bad thing.
Paul?
Oh my God, you out-Bibled him, dude. Oh my God. Dude, at this rate, I might want to do some reading on purpose just so that I can stand out in debates like this. What the fuck?
Also, Paul, let's use the New Testament because I let you walk right into this one. Paul was under the name Saul, was killing Christians. He was stoning them to death. And then God came
and that wasn't a good thing. That was a bad thing. That was a bad thing.
And God came and showed him the way. And God came and showed him the way. Hold on, God came and showed him the way. God came and showed him the way. Oh, I let you speak. God came and showed him the way. And he used Saul, who became Paul, as a tool. And part of what that message is, part of what that message is, it's clear that I'm more theologically knowledgeable than you are. Part of what that message is that God can use any man. God can use any person. I'm not judged by any person. God can use any person. God can use any person, whether you agree with what they've done, whether what they're
even child rapists, right?
I mean, they can use any person and sit here and spread the word of God and and become a tool of God. And when Connor admits that they're sitting here putting social conservatives in office, and he just doesn't like Trump for XYZ reason, which
I don't like child rapists, Gibbs.
Well, you were complaining about this before this was even a thing. I don't associate with either of them. However, if I'm going to have to vote between...
So hold on. I told you 2 clear pieces of evidence that Trump is a child rapist, and you don't care.
What did I tell you?
You don't care.
As a conservative, I believe in the Constitution, and one of the things that we talk about is innocent until...
I like how North is just like blowing out his mic every single possible second he could, dude. He's just like blowing, he's like fucking blowing out. Bro, oh my
Proven guilty.
So hold on, I'm going to test that. I'm going to test that. Let me know when you're done.
So
okay, so hold on.
So
Donald
funny.
Trump and Pete Hegseth have drone struck 3 separate boats in the Caribbean. There was no trial. There was no due process. We don't even know who these people are. They've probably killed.
Like the it's like the biggest like fucking like mismatching of audio and visual I've ever seen. Like you see this North, right? You see North, this like fucking video. It's like this handsome young lad, and then meanwhile his mic literally sounds like a Call of Duty lobby. Dude, what the fuck? Oh my god, dude.
20 or so people. So you said that you believe in innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, which is why, despite the fact that I presented you with 2 pieces of evidence that indicate that Donald Trump is a child rapist, you're willing to ignore those things. So how do you feel about drone striking random ships in the Caribbean without due process?
Well, I'll answer that real simple, because if Connor knew anything about anything, he would know that when I'm talking about innocent until proven guilty, I'm talking about under the American justice system for American citizens. I don't give a fuck about a terrorist organization cartel. When it's a terrorist organization cartel, I'm sorry, it's based as fuck. He's taking out drug dealers in the middle of the ocean.
Pedophilia, drone strike a few civilians, who cares? This is why nobody likes you.
Did you know that there's actually reports now from other coast guards of other navies that have actually recovered drugs from the struck boats, right? So do you want to rescind that dumbass statement, or do you just want to double down on idiocracy?
Wait, sorry, what did you say?
There are reports now from nearby nations that one of them, at least that we have evidence of so far, was able to recover drugs from some of the struck.
Okay, Admiral Gibbs,
that pretty much indefinitely proves that they were selling drugs.
Admiral Gibbs,
recovered drugs from.
No, wait, but
are you at all
due process?
Hold on. Admiral Gibbs, do you understand why a president is able to drone strike a random family in the Middle East? You understand what authority the president is taking from in order to do that?
Hold on. Are they American citizens or not?
No, that's not what I'm asking. You're answering a question with a question. I'm asking, do you understand what authority the president is deriving from in order to do drone strikes in the Middle East?
Yeah, they're the commander-in-chief of the military.
That's not the authority.
That is the authority. Are you the
No, it's an authorization of use of military force from Congress.
When's the last time we had a declared war? When's the last time?
I will say, okay, I will say, for as much as I disagree with North, okay, for as much as I disagree with North, he does know facts that is unique to him in this space. It seems I just don't I don't see other people bringing up the same factual objective evidence that he is bringing up, so which implies that he is doing his own research, right? That's kind of what it implies, is that he's doing his own research before an encounter, which is good. That's a good thing. Yeah.
Declared war.
After 9/11, there was legislation passed saying that the president, as dictated by Congress, is able to basically take out anyone associated with the attacks of 9/11, right? And we've stretched that, I'd say, too far to today, where that's the same authority that we're using to bomb Yemeni's pilots, right?
Sure.
The president doesn't have that authority by himself. He has to derive that authority from Congress. So where is he getting that authority to drone strike Caribbean Venezuelan ships?
Okay. All right. Real simple. Are the Yemeni pirates and the Houthis, and are these people generally considered terrorists?
It's not whether they're terrorists or not. It's whether they were associated with 9/11. And that is the exact same
justification
of the Trump administration.
Yes, it's not about whether or not dude, you're basically taking the president at his word. I mean, it's fine if you view the Trump as the word of the Bible, right? But that's the issue, is that people view Trump's word as the word of God, right? That is also part of the unhinged crazy shit that is happening, right? Is that they view Trump's word as the word of God. So oh yeah, because Trump says that they're a bunch of drug traffickers or whatever the fuck, therefore they're drug traffickers. Anything even if afterwards they were found with drugs, that's kind of after the fact, right? That's after Dude, why the fuck? Like, listen, and also, isn't there kind of something kind of twisted about posting a video like that, like a fucking live leaks video? I'm pretty sure Trump is the like he posted the original video. Like, he is the first poster in the entire world to post that video. It's not like that video came from elsewhere, like some kind of form of live leaks or some shit, right? He is the one that posted it because he's fucking unhinged. But yeah.
Are they classified as terrorists?
Jesus Christ.
Yes, they are classified.
Okay, so did you have a problem when any of the other presidents used the terrorist clause? I guess if you did, sure. However, all these other presidents in recent history since 9/11 have used this basic powers under the what was it, the Bush press?
Like my fucking like thing about the boats thing is that I like technically a president does have authoritative power to do stuff. Like, for example, like Obama authorized drone strikes, right? Like he is the one that gave the order, right? However, they would never ever extend this amount of courtesy to someone like Obama, right? So, like, even though Obama has kind of done the same thing, they kind of have not really shut up about it, right? Like, for example, I think it was I think it was Tim Pool specifically that had an issue with Obama authorizing drone strikes and killing people in the Middle East, right? Now I don't know what I don't know what Admiral Gibbs believes, but the thing is that you can't say on one hand that, oh yeah, these like fucking like leftist politicians are like authorizing drone strikes and like bombing random civilians, but on the other hand you're just taking Trump at his word and you're just saying, oh yeah, well, you know what, I think this is like justified or some shit. And in addition, like, we're not even getting into the territory of like him using this to stir up the bloodlust of the American people. I think that's so crazy to me. The fact that you're like the fact that you're like posting the video yourself as president in order to show like how cool and badass you are, right? Hold on, let me just fact check this. Did Trump, where did the blowing up boat Trump video come from? Released by Donald Trump. Yeah, it was released by Donald Trump. How's that appropriate to release? What the fuck?
Patriot Act, all these other good things Bush pushed through under the Cheney administration. You know, basically when he did this, they classified these things and they derived that power from Congress. And that is partially why we've said here and we've seen, whenever we have cartels dealing with foreign powers like China, much in the same way Hezbollah does with Iran, we can see other places like Venezuelan-backed Tren de Agua. We see these things when they're acting in the same manner. It is reasonable then when they declare them terrorists and terrorist organizations for him to act as the commander-in-chief, deriving his power from those bills that were passed after 9/11 to enact a will upon those ships, and that will happen to be sinking their asses.
Okay, do you think that the president should be able to act without the authority of Congress to like sink ships?
Yes, possibly.
Yes. Okay. Well, then you're.
Oh, you're not a constitutional conservative.
Hold on. Do you agree with this too? You agree with this
okay,
too?
Hold on. Do you think that is at all in line with like limited government at all?
Hold on. You agree with what I just said too?
Separation of powers.
If I take a boat and I drive it full of explosives at a U.S. Aircraft carrier, would they have a reason to shoot me out of the water even if they didn't know what I was doing?
Yeah, they would.
So
would they do that without the president's
You're giving me literally an entirely different circumstance.
No.
Yes, I would agree that they would be able to shoot it up.
Even if
we're talking about blowing up civilian vessels in the Caribbean. That's what we're talking about.
We know they aren't civilian vessels.
These people aren't driving boats towards U.S. carrier task forces.
They're driving boats full of drugs to America.
How do you know they have drugs in them?
Okay, if I have to pull up another source and you can't pull up a single line,
yeah, the source of them having drugs in it is after the fact. They didn't know they had drugs in it before when they blew them up.
Are they American citizens? Yes or no?
I got this talking point from North, okay? Because I remember watching this part.
That doesn't matter!
So then they're not entitled to the same fucking rights under the Constitution as American citizens. Trump has declared the organization.
You're actually
completely misunderstanding what I'm saying.
No, North, I just want to make this clear. So the Constitution actually does specifically articulate.
Do you still need kick partner? Yeah, I do. Wait, I think so. Actually, let me take a look at my requirements. Who knows?
Citizens and people. When it's referring to citizens and people, and therefore people are entitled to due process under the United States law. And so as an example, you're just showing us that you don't actually believe in the Constitution of the United States, which is fine. That's fine.
This is insanity, bro. Like, when
either that or you don't understand it. You either don't understand it or you don't believe it.
You don't understand it because y'all are just I gave a scenario.
Reached a total of 25 subscribers in the last 30 days. Gifted subs not included. I need 2 more. Reach an average of 75 viewers in the last 30 days. I'm at 67.47. Have 250 unique chatters in the last 30 days. I'm at 186. out of 250. So yeah, I still need a somewhat